Hello everyone, welcome to the new episode of Professionals Unplugged. I am your host Utkarsh Shukla and today we have Alena with us. Alena, thank you so much for joining in.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Utkarsh. It's great to meet you and be part of your channel.
Thank you so much, Alena. So let's start with a very basic question. Can you please introduce yourself to our audience, like who you are, what work you do?
Okay, so hello everyone who's watching. My name is Alena Konečná. I'm based in the Czech Republic, Central Europe. And what I do is I work mainly with HR professionals who struggle with confidence when they speak English at work. So that's something that I've been doing for the past 2, 3 years. And there's many layers to it, of course, but the main issue usually is that the people feel at their best, they're experts, etc., when they speak their native language, but when they need to use their skills and expertise in English, suddenly it gets a little bit more challenging. There's this imposter syndrome coming in, many other stakeholders looking at them, and it's just a step further in their career. So that's where I come in and I guide them through this journey.
This is really interesting. I think this is not only related to HR professions, but with every other profession, right? Even in our day-to-day life, especially for someone who is coming from a non-English speaking background. I am also like from one of those background. My native is Hindi, right? So sometimes what happens at the very beginning when we are trying to learn English as a primary language, we try to convert it firstly in our native language and then go on to speak it rather than having it as a natural thing as coming out from our tongue, you can say, right? So it's really great thing like the work that you are doing right now because it's not a common job that I've heard of. It's like first time I'm hearing like someone is working on helping people to improve their confidence when they speak English, right? So can you just take us a step back, like why you have started this thing and what was the main root cause of starting this role?
Mm. Right. So what I didn't mention is that I have another passion, which is facilitation and training facilitation. So that's again a little bit step back. It's not something that people really usually know. So let me just maybe explain a little bit what I mean by that. So I cooperate with a nonprofit organization that connects people from all over the world for programs where they meet in groups of people, young people, discussing quite difficult topics like religion, politics, democracy, terrorism, like really, really hot topics. And what I need to do as a facilitator is I need to listen and I need to facilitate the discussion to have actually a good quality discussion. And when I became a trainer and I was also teaching English at that time, I was noticing that the skills that I use as a facilitator are extremely important to people who lead people because they also need to facilitate work meetings. They need to listen to their employees or to their managers, to their colleagues. They need to ask the right questions and deal with differences. Yeah, there are different opinions, especially when the company is big or international or even not. Yeah, even a common company, you have different kinds of people and different opinions. And that's where I was thinking about how I can bring those skills and experience I have as a facilitator to companies, to, let's say, normal life, because facilitation and facilitated meetings are great spaces where you can feel safe. And I would love that space. I would love to have this kind of space also in companies when people are able to communicate this way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's really nice and it's really important to know how you started it, right? So it completely makes sense now. Correct. So, what are the biggest challenges that you think this role has given you?
The challenges, you mean for me or for my clients?
So, let's start from your point of view. Like, what are the challenges you are facing while facilitating this role, and then
Hmm.
to overall.
Right. So, when I started to as a freelancer, to started in this area of working with HR professionals, I actually was a mother of a very young, very small baby. So the biggest challenge was to manage the work-life balance and how to find a way to find a space for myself and for my clients, and of course for my family. So that was one of the biggest challenges. The second biggest challenge was that even though that I've been teaching English for many years before stepping into this specific role, um, choosing to work with HR professionals meant that I had to learn quite a lot about this industry, about the people that work there. And my source of information were actually my clients. So those first clients were a great source of well, yeah, information, background, and that helped me to feel more comfortable stepping into this role, let's say.
Right. And coming to getting your first client, right? So how difficult was it to get that first step?
Well, mm, so it was a gradual process because I was already teaching English before. I didn't feel so much pressure, and I took it as an experiment. And I think that's what helped me in those early stages where I didn't feel so much pressure that I have to get the first client, and it can be very difficult mindset to go out and start searching for clients as a freelancer if you have this kind of a pressure. At that time, I was working with a mentor who had group programs. So there was a community of people like me going through this process of training. And together, we also went out to the world, to the market, and starting to look for our first clients. So there was a lot of support from the community, from the mentors who helped us on the more practical levels, and also on that mindset level,
Yeah.
right? So there were people going through very similar challenges, like how do I present myself on LinkedIn, because that's my primary point of contact with leads, let's say. How do I approach potential clients? How do I communicate with them? How do I sell to them? Yeah, that's a big thing uh, for freelancers when they actually go freelancing and they have to start selling themselves on their own and market themselves. So that was yeah, these were the early challenges.
And not talking about the clients that you have. So is there any one common challenge or any one common problem that you think people are facing and that comes up to you like on a regular basis?
Mm. Yeah, throughout the time, I figured that what I do best is working with the mindset of the people and helping them realize that they can do whatever they want to do. I work a lot with women. Yeah, like 99% of my clients are women, and I have some male clients too who face the same issue, but I see it as quite gender problem more often than not. And that's when it's a woman in a male world in a company, and there's a lot to maintain in the sense of respect, in the sense of the way she needs to interact with her colleagues, with her bosses, etc. So what we work on is how to feel comfortable in those situations, how to feel sure about herself, even when she has to ask questions. There's a lot of myth about asking questions, right? If I ask questions, I look stupid or whatever, which is not actually true. But many people have this kind of a feeling. So these myths and mindset changes are usually the first steps that we tackle with my clients.
And now coming back to you, so is there any story or any kind of thing that you like to share from your journey till now?
Um, I would like to share, I guess, about the early stages where sometimes I would feel that I have to do a lot at the same time, and I have to go really big. And then what helped me was realizing that I can just go step by step and learn from the first client to the next client to the next client. And what helped me, there was one lesson from my mentor. There were many lessons from my mentor, but one of them stuck to me very much, was that it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And it's not useful to try to really do everything en masse and to be perfect right from the get-go. So what I did first was that I created a draft of a program, which I saw as something that could be useful for my clients. And instead of something that teachers do very, very much often, or very often, is that instead of working on it until it is perfect, which can take months, years, I just went in and sold it to my first client. And through this experience with my first and then second client, I improved the program so that it matches better the expectations, the needs of the people that were coming to me. So the lesson there is you don't have you cannot, it's impossible to wait until you are perfect or until the product is perfect or until your website is perfect because nothing ever will be. And it doesn't really make sense anyway, because you cannot be perfect and then could go to the market. You have to go to the market, get a feedback, and then get better. And then again, go to the market, get better, and get feedback, etc. So it's like a cycle, but you can't do it on your own. Yeah. So you need to get feedback from the market, from community, if you have a community, from a mentor, from people who go through same situation, but you can't stay in your head, which can be very difficult for introverts. And I am an introvert. I had to learn to put myself out there. And maybe it sounds as a matter of course, but yeah, it's very easy to get stuck in that idea. It's not perfect yet. I can't tell anyone until it's perfect, but
Right.
that's a trap.
Yeah, I think that's completely makes sense. Sometimes it's important to know like it's not a single race or it's not a battle that needs to be won. It's a war that you need to win, right? So it can be a war can be like part of having a multiple battles within. And sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, right? But it's the entire journey, that is what going to make the sense at the end, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the losses are also lessons, right? It's a feedback.
Correct. So now coming to your life and the advice that you just shared, like the story, and so that's the advice that you are following in your life, right? If I ask you if you can share one advice to the people who are watching this podcast for them, then what it will be?
Hmm. Nowadays, it can be very easy to get distracted. There are so many new trends, so many new options, so much advice coming from different sides and places and people. And it can create, on the one hand, it can create sense of FOMO where you can feel pressured. Yeah, if I don't do this, if I don't take this advice, if I don't try this method of whatever you're doing, everyone was just be so far ahead of me and I'm going to fall behind and it's not going to be working for me. So to step away from this rush, choose one thing and give it certain amount of time is would be my advice. Yeah, and by certain amount of time, I mean, let's say a year, not a couple months. Because from my experience, it does take about a year to get proper feedback so that you can actually know if it's working, if it's not working. Of course, during the year, you get the feedback, you tweak whatever you're working on, but it's important not to switch completely from another niche or to another project to another product to another way of working. Right, because it just takes time, even though there are so many options. And with AI being thrown in, it can be very tempting to try new things. And I'm I'm also doing it sometimes. that yeah, I sometimes try too many things and I have to then tell myself that's enough. Let's just focus on what I really want to do now, and maybe leave that to another person or next time.
That's really nice. And last but not the least, what's your dream right now?
Well, my dream, personally, it is to with together with my partner to build a house, which is our family dream, and that for me personally means to get a good balance of income and family time. Where I'm going at professionally is finding a way to support my clients. Uh, how do I say it? So that they are more independent. Because one way to teach English to provide this feedback or service to my clients is one-on-one or in group sessions. But now with AI, but with also other options, there are so many ways people can work on themselves by themselves or with different systems. So I'm looking for a way to support my clients so that they are not dependent on me, because sometimes it can also happen that yeah, you find a great teacher or a great coach, and then it's difficult to do things on your own to step away from this relationship. So yeah, my dream is to have a larger community of clients around me so that they can also support each other, and yeah, and everything kind of works out well also for me personally.
That's really nice. I think that's the best point to end this podcast. So thank you so much, Elena, for sharing your insights with us. It was really a pleasure for me to know your story and to connect with you. So keep inspiring.
It was pleasure. Thank you so
You.
much.